What is up everyone, and welcome to some more F1 23 My Team career mode. Last time out we were at the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, and despite a strong qualifying in P7 we could not convert it into a points finish. We were on the wrong strategy, wrong tyres all the time, and yeah, in the end it resulted in a P14 finish for us, which was not great, but it is what it is, and we will try and bounce back now in Australia, which is a track that has grown on me quite a lot actually over these past few months or so since I started doing these regular videos in My Team career mode in F1 22. I've kind of gone from not really being that big of a fan of Australia to really liking it. It seems to be one of my stronger tracks. I did a league race around here a few weeks ago, and I came away with a P2 finish, so I was pretty proud of that one. And yeah, I'm hoping that we can bounce back from last year where we should have scored points but didn't due to a glitch in the game. And yeah, hopefully this time we will be able to score points and yeah, walk away with at least a few, especially after the disappointment of Saudi Arabia. But we'll see what happens. We can afford a lot more upgrades now. We've unlocked a bunch more in the aero department, and I'm actually going to take the risk of rushing these two because I think if they get on the car in time for China next race, we could be really quids in for a good finish at China. But there's a lot of things that have to go right for that to happen. We had one more failure, which I'm also going to obviously repeat the upgrade here. That one's fairly cheap to do because it's a minor, and we had development boosts and stuff like that on it. But then all the other 5 that we were supposed to get in last video do come through, and I will show you once we get into the actual Australian GP weekend what impact that has had on our development. So yeah, without further ado, it is now time for us to leave the sort of home HQ area and move into the Australian Grand Prix weekend. And we will see. We'll see if we can get a good result there. The target, as always, is going to be top 10, I think. But anything can happen, and we'll see if we can maybe even go further up the field than that. It's going to be dry for the whole weekend, which is nice. No rain to spoil my day. I'm pretty good in the rain against human players, but against AI, no, not the one, unfortunately. But here's the development chart. You can see we're literally basically the same as AlphaTauri now, quite close behind Williams and Alfa Romeo too. We've made a big gain in the development race, and if we can keep getting these upgrades on, especially if we can get those 2 major upgrades on the aero package for China. Obviously, those are quite hard to get because they were both 55% failure chance, which means there's about a 9% chance, if my maths is correct, of both of them passing, which that's not going to be. It's not going to be easy to do. No, it's more than a 9% chance. It's like a 20% chance, I think, roughly, give or take. Which still, it's not guaranteed, but it's a little bit more likely than a 9% chance, like I initially anticipated we might have. We've set another bunch of upgrades to come onto the car, which are all going to come on either for China or for Azerbaijan, depending on when they're done. But yeah, hopefully by Baku we'll have a pretty good car, which is the dream of mine on account of the fact that I don't know, I struggled around Baku quite a lot. And yeah, here we go, getting ready to go into the weekend proper. This was practice, and you can see that I actually topped the session, which I was quite happy about. I wasn't expecting that. It shows to go that I actually have a bit more pace than I thought I had around here, maybe. And who knows, maybe we'll be a contender for pole position or something like that. I don't think so. I think this was probably a bit of a fluke, like how Alex Albon was topping all of those sessions in Silverstone, and he still only walked away with P8 or P9 in quali. I reckon that would be sort of where we're going to end up if I had to guess. But you never know, and we'll see what's going to happen now. We're getting ready to get into qualifying now. As always, the target is going to be top 10. We will get a bonus for top 15 as well, but yeah, if we can qualify in the top 10, we'll get our maximum cash bonuses, minus the one for finishing the race in the top 10. But obviously, qualifying in the top 10 sets us up in the best possible position to also finish in the top 10. so we can see how we go. And we're now ready to get into it on our first flying lap of Q1. This will be on a fresh set of soft compound tyres, and as we come up to the line, is a 119.1. So yeah, that's pretty nice. I think we need to improve on that a little bit. It wasn't a fantastic lap from me, and yeah, I need to find a bit more pace, but fortunately we find loads more pace. Down in P19 at the moment, but improving by 1.1 seconds. As we come up to the line, it's going to be a 118.0, close to the 117s, not quite on this occasion, and it's P5 in the session. So yeah, very comfortable, very easily made my way through, and yeah, can't complain too much about that one. If we can get P5 in Q3, then I'll be very, very happy with that. Massively outperforming where the car probably should be, but you know, it seems like the pack has really bunched up, and there's no more evidence of that than Bottas being out of the session, along with De Vries, Piastri, Fittipaldi, Dennis Hauger, and Logan Sargent are the 6 who we say goodbye to on this occasion. So yeah, Bottas, he was on the podium, he was P2 last race, and he's out in Q1, yeah, that is a bit of a shock. This lap, apparently I went over the track at some point, but for some reason it couldn't decide whether I had or not, so it let me set a time, but then it didn't count. So we did a 118.9 on used tyres, but it wasn't really counted. Not that it would have made a big difference anyway, because I think 118.9 was only good enough for P16 anyway, but now as we go on a fresh set of tyres, I do have to actually get a good lap time in. Otherwise, we risk being out of the session. You can see we come around the final corner. We've improved by, you know, over 6/10, close to 7/10, and as we come on the run up to the line, cross it to take a 118.2, and that is going to be P9. So not quite as good as I was. A couple tenths off my time in Q1 and a few positions down subsequently, but we're through to Q3 nonetheless. And yeah, if we'd have got a 118.0 again, we would have been about P7 by the looks of things. Seems like people are improving. I don't really know if I've got that much more pace to find. Alex Albon very close to being in Q3 there, and we also say goodbye to Ocon, Sonoda, Stroll, Gasly, and Joe. Joe in a 119.2, so not a great time from him. Definitely would have been knocked out in Q1 if he'd have done that kind of time in Q1. But yeah, obviously he couldn't find the same level of pace. But these things happen, and yeah, now it's time for us to get into the third and final session of the weekend. We're going to go on a used set of soft compound tyres first, as is pretty customary for these sessions, and we will see if it's going to be good enough to see us through. It's a 118.3 on used tyres. That's a pretty good time. If I can find that level of pace again on a fresh set of soft compound tyres, I think that we'll be really looking to get a strong result here. And you can see as I come into the final sector now, I'm already 6/10 up. So if I can have a good final sector here, then this can be a really strong time. What are we on at the moment? A 118.3. We have Alonso there on a 117.2. I wonder if I can challenge him. This will be one of the best laps I've ever driven around Australia if I can get in amongst Alonso into that sort of 117.2 range. You can see we're 8/10 up, 9/10 up. We come round the final couple of corners now. We're over a second up. It seems like we are going to get into that 118.2 range. But will it be good enough to challenge Alonso? I think it will. We'll see where we come out as we're about 1.1 seconds up as we cross the line. Where does that put us? P5. Okay, wow. That is a lot better than I was expecting at the start of this session. I was thinking, you know, maybe P8 was going to be the target or something like that. But no, we've absolutely blitzed it, so I'm pretty happy with that. We out-qualify the world champion, George Russell, and it's only the 2 Red Bulls and the 2 Ferraris ahead of us. We qualify ahead of both Hasses, which is going to be pivotal for our chances of beating Haas in the Constructors this season. Also ahead of the Aston Martin of Alonso, the McLaren of Norris. All of these are, again, cars that it would serve me well to beat. Obviously, we're only aiming for P6 in the Constructors' Championship this season, but every little helps. You know, if I can beat the McLarens and the Aston Martins as well, then I can probably try and make a bit of a case for myself getting a good result. You know, we were comprehensively ahead of the Alpines, and then the Williams, the Alfa Romeos, and the who else? The Alpha Tauris. Those guys, we also comprehensively outperformed. So I can't be too disappointed with what's happened here, and I can only hope that we can convert this kind of performance into a good finish in the race. I'll try and make up as many positions as I can from the start. Hopefully, not go on a strategy that isn't suited to our car, and yeah, we'll see if we can get a good result. I'm very, very optimistic about this one, to be honest with you. Like I said, it's a track that I've grown to enjoy quite a lot, and and Lord knows we will need to get a good result if we want to try and finish P6 in the Constructors' Championship. So we'll see what we can do as we get into the Australian Grand Prix.
Few places embrace Formula One like Melbourne. It is a truly brilliant sentence to say. Welcome to the Australian Grand Prix. It's Albert Park Circuit, 3.2 miles of bumpy city streets. We have changed the turns at 1, 3, 6 and 13. They have all been widened. We've got rid of the chicane at 9 and 10. That is now a flat-out right-hander. It's a new look that made its debut in 2022. New life into an old classic. It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. Max Verstappen put in a fantastic lap yesterday and he'll start from pole position, edging out Sergio Perez, who lines up P2. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Leclerc, Sainz, Robinson, Magnussen, Fernando Alonso, Russell, Norris, Hulkenberg, Albon, Ocon, Tsunoda, Stroll, Gasly, Zhou, Bottas, De Vries, Oscar Piastri, Fittipaldi, Hauger, and Logan Sargent. And with preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track.
They got nothing to say. Okay, fair enough. Apparently over 750 reptile species live in Australia. I love reptiles. They're really cool. If you guys didn't know about me, I did a biology degree. Little fun tidbit about me. So I'm really into animals and plants and all that good stuff. But I'm also into not doing a terrible strategy this time. And yeah, we're going to be going on the mediums first time, same as everyone around me. And I'm hoping that this will be the superior strategy,
okay, so
the premium strategy to be on mediums, 14 laps on those, 15 laps at the end on hards, and yeah, we'll see if we can actually stick. Maybe not with the cars in front. I think that will be a little bit too tricky. But certainly the likes of Magnussen and Alonso, I want to keep behind if I can. And hopefully convert this into a P5 at the flag. That would be the dream. It's going to be very difficult to do. Hopefully we don't just go backwards like we did in Saudi Arabia, but we'll see what's going to happen as the race unfolds, as the lights come on and the lights go out. And we've had a good getaway compared to Leclerc there. Me and Sainz probably about the same. Perez with a poor getaway as well. I'm going to try and go around the outside of Leclerc, but I get onto the grass. That compromises my run. But Perez pinched the inside of the corner, and that is going to allow me to make the move on him. And we are up into P4. And yeah, that turn one, if you're on the inside at turn one, you're not going to have a good time. I'm going to try and go out the inside of Sainz now, but I massively get the corner wrong, and I go straight into the side of Charles Leclerc. That was a terrible, terrible mistake from me. And one that I think has given Charles Leclerc damage as well. So yeah, immense levels of regret from me. I just broke way too late. I had nowhere to go, and I snuck up on Charles Leclerc a tiny bit too late for him to react to it. 100% my fault. I wasn't even alongside him or anything like that. I was all the way back in the braking zone, and I went for an opportunistic move on his teammate, which ended up compromising him. So yeah, that was not a great move from me. However, it does have the added bonus of us being in P2, even if it is only for half a lap or so before Carlos Sainz eventually does make the pass again. But we're in the podium places. I think Leclerc is going to come into the pits now, if I had to guess, because he does have damage on that front wing. There's no way he escaped it. We're very lucky not to get side pod damage or something like that, to be honest with you, because you know, we did clatter his front wing with our side pod. But you can see here that Charles Leclerc is coming into the pits, and that is basically going to be the end of his race on lap 1. So yeah, immense frustration and disappointment. I didn't mean to do that. I would never deliberately take a competitor out of the race, but it was just the natural unfolding of things. I really couldn't avoid it no matter how hard I tried. But another thing I couldn't avoid no matter how hard I tried was this, which is Sergio Perez getting ahead of me on lap 4, and now I'm coming under pressure from the Spaniard Fernando Alonso behind me. It will be Max Verstappen and a bunch of Spanish-speaking people ahead of me if Alonso pulls off this overtake, which it looks like he's going to do. And yeah, as we come into the corner, you can see that he is fully ahead of me, and that has pushed me down back to where I started in P5. But now, instead of K-Mag, I've got George Russell for company, the defending world champion. He's going to want to try and get at least onto the podium here after a disappointing timeout in Saudi Arabia, failing to score a point. You know, he needs a good result to get back into this championship, get back in the fight with the likes of Max Verstappen and the Ferraris, and you know, making that overtake on me like he just did there will be the first step. And you can see on the following lap now, Kevin Magnussen is also doing the same thing. At the moment, I just don't seem to have the pace as I give him a little nudge up the backside, but no damage for me, no damage for him, and we can continue as we were. And we are currently sat in P7. But as you can see now, as we move on to lap 10, that the Bottas and Ocon have kind of fallen away from me a little bit. I think they were battling, and yeah, that has allowed me to sort of stick in P7. Just about cling to the gearbox of Kevin Magnussen within the DRS range. There's a bit of a battle brewing ahead between Russell, Perez, Magnussen, and I think that's it's Alonso, isn't it, that's also involved in that. So yeah, that's the fight for P3 at the moment, which is allowing me to stay with them at least marginally, but yeah, not really being gained on by the soft compound runners. I think their tyres are starting to go off a little bit, which is good for us, because it means that we're likely to stay in this position for the time being, and we're certainly likely to stay in this position when this is happening, which is Valtteri Bottas, the podium finisher, the man on a charge back through the field. He was running in a P8, I think, when this happened, and I mean, now that's the end of his race. Engine failure for him, and yeah, immense disappointment, I'm sure. But that has allowed me to build even more of a gap to the cars behind. The soft compound runners have come in now, so the closest car behind is Joe on those medium tyres, as we're now going to come into the box for a set of hard compound tyres. We're going to try and go to the end on those. It's not going to be easy because they don't have the most amount of grip, but they will have quite a lot of life, which I'm hoping will take us to the end. 51% on that rear left tyre, so you can see that clearly there wasn't much life left in these mediums. I had to pit now, and there's been a problem. There's been a problem removing the left front, which is absolutely gutting, because not only does that mean that Magnussen is now going to break away from me, it means that Ocon is going to make an overtake on me. He's going to pull off that undercut, which I don't think he was likely to do. You know, it might have been close between me and him, but I probably would have slotted myself in between him and Magnussen if I'd had to guess. But, you know, Ocon has moved a long way away now. Not only that, but later in the lap, I also get passed by Alex Albon, and we've been pushed out of the points. Fortunately, I think that some of the cars in front are yet to pit. Obviously, you've got Sainz and Perez there, who I think both are going to pit, but I would be surprised if they don't come out in front of me, despite the fact that they've pitted. But we also have Piastri and Tsunoda in the pits here, and those guys will not come out ahead of me. So we're up into P9, which is about to become P8, because there is a car going very slowly in front of us, and well, that's terrible. It's the Aston Martin of Fernando Alonso, which puts the Aston Martins out of contention in this race, basically. Stroll's still going. He's just passed his teammate up into P9, but still, they will not be happy with that. They were looking like they might be in for a podium if they could contend with Russell and Perez over third place, but now no dice for those guys. Lap 18, Magnussen and Ocon ahead are battling. That's holding up Albon a little bit, and now I'm going to try and go for an opportunistic move around the outside into the final couple of corners, switch to the inside, and we've gotten ahead of Albon up into P7. I knew I had to do it at some point, and eventually we did manage to pull off the overtake, so I'm very, very happy with that. But this battle between Magnussen and Ocon has held them up quite a lot. It's allowed me to catch. Magnussen goes deep. Ocon has to go slowly to avoid him, and that allows me to make the overtake on both of them. Somehow I get away with it, despite the fact there was a yellow flag there. I feel like definitely the game should have asked me to give the positions back, but it didn't say so, so I'm not going to. And yeah, I'm pretty happy with that overtake. So now we're running in P5, where we started again in this race, and yeah, we're just going to have to see if we can consolidate this position. Try not to get too much pressure from Esteban Ocon if we can, but you know, this guy's very fast, and he's on those medium tyres, which are going to have a bit more grip, so through the corners he's going to be a lot faster than me. It's going to be very difficult to hold him behind, and you can see with the DRS it's a non-contest. I wasn't burning any battery. I'm trying to save it to the end of the race, and yeah, that is him through to P5 once again, and us pushed down into P6. So it doesn't last long, however, because we are going to be we're going to be up into well, not up into P5, but we're definitely going to be up into the DRS range of Ocon and see if we can make the overtake once again. We're going to try and go around the outside as we come into turn 9. I'm going to brake later than him, and yeah, maybe his medium tyre is starting to go off a little bit there, not quite sure, but he broke super late into the corner, like he knew I was going to try and sweep around his outside, and yeah, there won't get many easier overtakes than that one. as we make our way back into P5. And Ocon coming under a bit of pressure from Magnussen and from Stroll later on as well, who's up into P6 now. You can see that they are 3 seconds behind me. That's just due to battling. That was not anything to do with me breaking away from them. You can see that Russell and Perez are a long way ahead of us. However, I'm not going to have things all my own way because Lance Stroll is catching me, and he's catching me quite quickly with 5 laps to go. They said he was catching at about the rate of a second per lap. We'll see what it turns into in the end. But yeah, for the time being, it looks like on that lap he gained about half a second on me. So I think I might just be able to keep him behind if I can keep up this level of pace. We've saved up quite a lot of battery, so as long as I make sure I burn this equally distributed across these next few laps or so, we should be okay, hopefully, to hold on to it. And you can see as we move now onto the final lap, he's not within my DRS range. He's 1.4 seconds down, so as long as I can keep my composure over the course of this lap, we should be absolutely fine. He might move into my DRS range, but I think the chances of him actually overtaking me using the DRS are going to be pretty slim, especially if I'm breaking away from him in some of these corners. As we move through this straight now, you can see that the gap is closing and closing and closing. It's closing to under a second, but he still doesn't have DRS. I think there's no detection point for this one, right? Or is there? No, there isn't, which means he won't have DRS for this next section either. And that means that I'm probably going to be able to hold on to this now. He's not really going to have any more DRS, only on the start-finish straight. But I don't think he'll have enough time to make the overtake, even if he does have DRS. And, I mean, again, we've broken away from him, over a second away now. I don't know whether he's going to be within a second by the time that we get to the start-finish straight or not. As we go to the detection point, I think I was over a second ahead. So this should be absolutely fine. And we're going to round the final corner. And yeah, we started P5 and we finished P5, so I'm pretty happy with that. Another 10 points to add to our total this season. Obviously, we had a P5 in Bahrain, no points in Saudi Arabia, so that puts us on to 20 points. And I am very, very happy with that. Stroll, despite the fact he couldn't get me, he still got driver of the day, so I don't think he'll be too miffed. And yeah, great race.
A great race then, and a fantastic victory here at Albert Park. So, Natalie, what made the difference out there today?
Well, they are very much at one with the car, which is a cliche, but it's true. It's not an easy process, and that work is very much paying off.
Red Bull are our winners today after showcasing some incredible driving. There's been a huge push from them lately to stay competitive with the other teams, and they're certainly proving themselves.
Well, a good race for Max Verstappen there, as he hopes to bounce back from the disappointment of missing out on the championship last season. He wasn't even really in contention for it, to be honest. His teammate Sergio Perez also found his way onto the podium, along with Carlos Sainz in the Ferrari. This rivalry with Perez, you know, I don't know why the game told me that I should be doing that, because so far I've been outperformed by him at every twist and turn.
So let's have a look then at the drivers' standings. A result that will make Sergio Perez happy as he pushes his championship lead out even further. So then, Natalie Pinkham, who would you rank as your driver of the day?
Max Verstappen seemed to just effortlessly weave through the other drivers today without a care in the world. He was definitely my driver of choice.
It's time to check out the constructors' standings. Red Bull take over as championship leaders. Meanwhile, Ferrari have improved their position. A strong weekend for them as they fight their way towards the top. Well, what an end to another fantastic weekend of racing. Thanks to everyone who's joined us, and we'll see you for the next one.
All right, let's take a look at the standings and see where we are now. So we're currently in P7, tied on points with Carlos Sainz, which means that he only had 2 points before that, clearly, because he scored 18 off the back of that podium. And we're P5 in the Constructors. But I think this battle with McLaren and Alpine is going to be super tight to see if we actually manage to get top 6 or not. I still think it could go either way, quite frankly. I'm not sure who's going to come out on top of that one, but it will be an interesting battle. You know, it was a great Grand Prix. Obviously, Dennis Hauger struggled a little bit more than I did. He wasn't really in the fight. Hopefully, as we continue to get upgrades on the car, move the car forward, up the performance index, and also, you know, make those development boosts in the personnel facility and stuff like that. Hopefully we'll be able to have it be a 2-car fight for points every weekend, rather than just me by myself. I don't know if we'll get there by the end of the season, but certainly, hopefully by next season, I want to have a teammate who is competing for points finishes, the cars develop so fast. You know, we are on the, what is it, increased AI development, cash flow, acclaim, all that kind of thing, and we're on reduced as a team, which means that it's really quite difficult for us to try and stay with them. We basically have to be perfect all the time, get as many resource points as we can. I've even been, to maximize acclaim, doing those Pirelli hot laps. I haven't been showing you them because they're boring and I don't want to be doing them, but I really have to just be trying to do everything I can at every possible circumstance to try and gain as much acclaim, as much income, as much, you know, R&D points, all these kinds of things. You know, I manually do the practice programs, all of this stuff, because it's just imperative to get as much you know, resource inflow as you possibly can. And yeah, that's something that actually makes these videos take a little bit longer to record, you know, than perhaps they usually would. You know, if I was just doing simulated practice and then doing quali in the race, it'd probably take me maybe an hour and a half to record these, but it usually takes, you know, 2 to 2.5 hours to record the videos in their entirety, which you know, it might not sound like a big difference, but it does stack up. So yeah, that is the nature of playing on this setting, but it comes with the benefit of making it a much more realistic career mode. You know, we've done an entire season and we're still the worst car on the grid. You do this even on balanced for both teams, for like both AI teams and your team, and you will find very quickly that you're at the top of the field. I used to play on balanced and it was literally like, you know, you would just get immediately one of the best cars on the grid by probably the end of season 1, but certainly partway through season 2, if not. You know, this is not like that. Last time it took us 4 seasons. This time it's probably going to take us a similar amount of time as well. So we'll see how the development goes. You know, this is why I can't be too mad with Hauger at the moment that he's not been performing, because he doesn't have the car to do it. I've just been massively outperforming the car. We do get all of our sponsorship bonuses, which is nice, and that will go towards maybe some driver perks, which I think we can get now we're acclaim level 15. But that is going to be it for this video. If you enjoyed, then please make sure you like and subscribe, and hopefully I will see you in the next one.